Good afternoon, mech warriors, mech techs, and nobles in hiding. Let me turn my music down. It is far too loud. My ears, my ear holes, the holes I use with which to hear. How is everybody? I have had such a morning. So let me tell you about my morning. But first, let me say a big thank you to Psychatic and Pathstrider for the bits. Thank you so much to both of you. I really appreciate it. Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, you may have noticed there have been some changes to the channel. We now finally finished setting up, only a month late, the affiliate stuff. So Twitch has given us a whole bunch of affiliate things. What those things are, I don't know. It was only yesterday we actually learned what a hype train was. So you'll have to forgive me. I am not a real streamer. I am a fake streamer girl. If you want, I can give you a picture of me licking a controller, but regardless, I'm terrible at this. So I thank you again, Psychatic, for the 200 bits. I thank you so much, you guys. But yeah, I am a fake streamer girl. I don't know the hell I'm doing. Speaking of not knowing what the hell I'm doing, yesterday, what the hell happened yesterday? Oh my god, I don't know if I don't think everybody caught the stream yesterday, but if it could go wrong, it went wrong yesterday. Wow. We had the worst merging experience I have ever experienced. So Psychic says, I don't know what happened yesterday. So yesterday we finished off Greg. I need to find a better phrasing for finished off Greg. Yesterday we concluded the work on Greg. That's slightly better. And we pushed it, but to push it we had to do some merging. So we had to merge the changes that we've made to match them with the changes that had been made on the main repo. And it did not go well. Holy shit, it went so badly. We had a 4-hour stream, as often we do, and I believe about 3 hours of that was spent just unfucking it. It was completely screwed. Yeah, no, it was bad, and then we discovered that IntelliJ had made some mistakes, and then we had to fix those mistakes, and it was embarrassing, it was awkward, and it was not a fun time. Yeah, so fast forward to today, and I'm desperately trying to finish up some changes I want to make to Advanced Medical, because I'm like, past couple of days, I lost all of Wednesday on code reviews, like all of Wednesday. I was working from about 8:30 to 9:30, somewhere in that region, till like 9 o'clock, I want to say. And that entire time was spent just on code reviews from other people's work. And so I didn't get to do any of my own work at all on Wednesday. And if you want, hashtag lead developer problems. And then yesterday, all of yesterday was lost trying to unfuck Greg. Phrasing once again. And so I haven't had any fun over the past couple of days. So today I really want to focus down. I want to do some fun stuff. And that's really falling into two things. One, I want to make some improvements to an alternative advanced medical, whatever I called it. I want to make some changes to that, and I've got most of them done now. And that's basically what I was finishing up. I really wanted to get those done before we get on stream. I'll go through what those changes are in a bit. And I also want to do an alternative progression system. So I'm not going to explain what the alternate progression system is now. We'll explain it when we get to it. But let me catch up on chat. A couple of people are very happy. I see Forks Darrow and CM Peterson are both happy to be able to get to enjoy the whole stream. Wildfire was at a Metallica gig. Oh, very fancy. And CM Peterson's asking how Greg works. So let's I always have to start these Greg conversations with a very brief history lesson. So Greg has been in the works for a very, very long time. However, you should not expect too much from Greg out the gate. Greg is a developer tool. It is not a fully featured thing. Not yet, at least. So way back in, I want to say 2024, probably late 2024, we introduced the convoy system. And anybody who's used it will know that sometimes you get little roleplay events where your convoy commander will be like, Commander, some peasants came here and wanted our rations, and we told them no, and as we drove away, we saw the light in their eyes fade away, and it's all very melodramatic and terrible. That was the original random event system. And the goal with Convoy was to see, hey, if I implement a random event system in the way that I did, how much writing would be required? And the answer is too much. So I went back to the drawing board. And so when we brought out... Actually, as an aside, the Convoy system was a testbed for a few systems, and one of them was the immersive dialogue. So you know how you get a dialogue pop up and it has a person and an in-character and an out-character section and options and all that good stuff? That was prototyped in the Convoy event system. So that's another thing that the Convoy event system was prototyping. But as I say, regarding random events, I found that the Convoy system was just too much writing. It wasn't feasible for anybody who isn't insane to actually do anything with. And even if you think of me and I'm a bit insane and you notice that there's a lot of writing I've done, you will notice that if you get a lot of convoy events, they're all basically the same thing. There's not a lot of actual variety in there, and that's just because I was like, okay, I need to write, I forget how many convoy events, and they all just basically follow the same sort of pattern. They're not very imaginative, they're not very fun. And that was a byproduct of the way that I was having to write at the time. And generally I was like, okay, well that's not really a workable system. So back to the drawing board. Then we came out with Pest. Now Pest is the prisoner event system, with a T being the TN system. Now Pest, if you've had prisoners trying to break out and just generally causing chaos, you'll know what Pest is. That's where you get a little pop-up from your prison officer saying, hey, the peasants are being rowdy again. And then you get the option to ban singing or whatever. So that was the next stage. There I wanted to go, okay, well, I want these variety of events, but I want to do them in such a fashion that makes them manageable when it comes to writing. But also at the same time, I want it so that anybody can write these events. I wanted someone to be able to come in and say, hey, I'm a writer, I want to write events, but I have no code experience. So I made an entire system so you can create events without any code background. But Pest was, as the name might suggest, the prisoner event system was very, very focused on prisoners. Okay, prisoners. So with Greg standing for the generic random events generator, the goal is to take Pest and make it generic so that it can be used at any place. And how it's going to work is, right now, it is literally just a straight replacement of Pest. So all the prisoner events are now there, but under Greg. The only real difference you'll notice is that now some of the options you have to resolve the problems require a skill or attribute check, rather than just being a 2d6 roll. I mean, it's still technically a 2d6 roll, but now it's an attribute skill check. You get the gist. The next step in Greg is for me to write a writer's guide to Greg, which is going to basically take... Sorry, punching my mic. It's going to take Greg, and essentially I'm just going to have to write a guide on, hey, writers, here's how you write for Greg. Here's what everything does, what everything means. Then, once we've got the writer's... and thank you for the follow, the entire population of Mars. And I also saw you asked how I was doing. I'm doing mostly good. A bit stressed this morning because there's been a lot going on. But thank you for the follow. I'm glad you're having a good time. Psychanic asks, do I play Helldivers 2? I actually don't. I like the Helldivers 2 memes, but I've never actually played Helldivers 2. I'm not actually very good at video games. I'm terrible. As anybody who watches me play the Scrotorious Bastards will be well aware. But back to Greg. So The next step after the prisoner event system is I want to train, quote unquote, train some of our writers to write for Greg, and we're going to use prisoners as a way to, what's the word? Basically, we're using the prisoners event system, which is now Greg, as a way to give our writers a chance to get their head around Greg without needing to worry about too much about it being extra code support needed. So once prisoners are at a stage where I'm really happy with them, which isn't going to take long, we're then going to move over to convoys. And the goal is we're going to completely replace the convoy system. Not the convoy system, I should say. Convoy events are going to be completely replaced by Greg. Radar says the prisoners are a jumping off point for writers. Exactly, because the good thing about prisoners is we already have a lot of examples of Gregged random events. So then once we've got prisoners, we're going to move on to replacing all of the convoy roleplay events with Greg events. And the goal here is going to be, okay, writers, you've got your prisoner events. You know how prisoner events works. You can use a lot of the examples in the work I've already done on prisoners, so you can see how it works. Then writers' next step is going to be, hey, here are just some writing prompts. Have at you. And once you've got the writing prompts down and the convoy system has been replaced by Greg, the next step, and this is the one that I know is a lot more interesting for you guys, it has to be left till last because it requires the writers to have already got a lot of experience. But the final stage for Greg right now is going to be the introduction of Star League LozTech caches. LozTech caches. Because what I really don't want is a repeat of the old Against the Bot Star League caches, because I never liked them. If anybody who's a newer player isn't aware, how a Star League cache used to work is you would... Oh, I should probably switch over to something that isn't starting soon. Boop. How a Star League cache used to... Oh, God, we're in the void. This is all going so well today. You're lucky I like you guys, because this is a headache. There we go. Okay, so the way Star League caches used to work in the dark days was every now and then you'd get a scenario pop up and say, hey, this is... Oh, thank you for the gifts of Psychotic. And to Radar too, which is, I think, is fantastic, as Radar's here quite often. What was I going to say? Oh, I also saw Psychotic saying that would I play Helldivers 2 if I had it? I probably wouldn't, no. And not because I'm not interested in it. I think Helldivers 2 could be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Scaventide. I really enjoyed Scaventide. But the problem is I just simply don't have enough time to play video games nowadays. All my time is taken up with developing MekHQ, and I just really don't have a lot of video game time. And the little time that I do have for video games, I generally spend playing Final Fantasy XIV with my partner. We've been playing Final Fantasy XIV for years together now, and that's kind of like our togetherness time. But yeah, so but no, I would love to I'll probably watch some videos of Helldivers 2. I can do that when I'm programming. But yeah, when it comes to playing video games, if you want me to play a video game, it's not likely to happen because I just simply don't have either the computer for it or I just don't have the time. Yeah, so like... Yeah, so where were we? Yeah, Greg. So yeah, Star League caches, how it used to work is... With the old event system. No, start again. Sorry, I'm losing track. It's been a very busy morning. But with the old Star League caches, anybody who hasn't been playing for a while will not be aware of. But how they used to work is every now and then you get a special scenario similar to the official challenges, but less cool. And what that special scenario would do would be like, hey, there's a Star League cache. And you choose, I think it's like 1 unit to go fight for the cache. And the enemy gets 1 unit. And there were 2 types of this. The first type was the enemy would be piloting whatever was in the cache. So a Star League era mech. And the other version would be you would be piloting the Star League era mech with one of your technicians. And this was just a bit crap, in my opinion. Now, when I say it's a bit crap, I am not disparaging the developers who developed it. Because the developers who developed it back in pre-2020 times simply didn't have the tools that we had today. So they couldn't do what I wanted to do. They just simply couldn't. But it was a bit crap because either you would utterly obliterate the unit that you were trying to get from the cache, or it would just not be anything worth fighting for. Like, who really cares about a primitive, bloody no, Wolverine or whatever? Nobody, let's be honest. And the likelihood of you A, getting something good from it, and B, the good thing actually surviving the fight so you could salvage it was incredibly low. And I just didn't, give me 2 seconds. And I just really didn't enjoy them. So what I want from our modern answer to Starly caches, because Starly caches bother me because they should be really cool, but they're not. And I've been seeking for the right solution to make them cool. And so how it's going to be is we're going to use Greg to say, hey, you have you've uncovered a Lost Tech cache, and then here's a scene that sets up the cache, and you have to choose the resolution options like you do with prisoner events. And maybe that evolves into a fight. Maybe you just crack the code, get access to the cache, and now it's yours. So there are a few different ways it can get resolved, but the idea is that rather than just being a straight, here is a fight, it's going to be, here is a situation to solve. How do you use your skills and abilities to solve the problem? Kind of like a choose your own adventure. And if you want to get an idea of how it's going to work, just think about how prisoner events currently work in 51.0, and it's going to be kind of like that, but for caches. And again, there might be fights, there might be all sorts of things, but the main thing is to make it feel flavorful, so that not every time it's turning into a fight, but also to make it so that if you want to crack a lot of Starly caches, you're going to want to skill up a particular character to crack those caches, because you're going to need things like cryptography, investigation, maybe all these different skills to crack the cache. And it's going to really reward players who specialize a character into cache cracking or have a bunch of roleplay skills and options. And that's the end goal, but that's going to require a lot of work, and so that's being left last. Now, in the distant future, we have a lot of plans for Greg, but they're not plans I can really discuss. I think it might have been Radar. I think I saw someone. No, it's the Youngster. Youngster was asking, is Greg going to be able to section off events for different factions and eras and years? The end goal is yes. Will Greg be able to do that in 51.01? No. Because the broader spectrum of roleplay events is not being rolled out anytime soon. We're focusing on updating prisoner events, replacing convoy events, Starly caches, and then other stuff. The other stuff will first be personality events. This one's really important to me. The whole reason the personality system was introduced back in 2025 was specifically to support Greg. That's how long in advance we plan stuff. So the whole reason for the personality system was to support Greg. So how it's going to work is all your personality traits on your primary characters. We're going to have a protagonist flag. So you give your protagonist flag to certain characters, and those characters are the ones that can have these personality events. So if you have a thief among your protagonists, then maybe things might go missing. Or maybe they'll steal off another character and then you have to resolve the dilemma. And things like that. Stuff that really makes the characters feel alive. But that's distant stuff. I don't know when that's coming, because that's going to take a lot of work. But back to what we're here to do today. So as I say, two things to want to do today. The first is we want to finish up upgrading advanced medical, and then we want to add our alternate progression system. I am going to straight up tell you right now, before I even go any further, not everybody is going to want to use the alternate progression system. That is by design, that is okay. I am literally adding it for myself because I want to use it, and maybe some of y'all want to use it too. I really don't care if you don't. But I will explain what the alternate leveling system is in a bit. Let's finish up with advanced medical. So what changes have been made to advanced medical? For one thing, we have a whole bunch of tests. Yay! But The other thing is that we are slightly changing the chance of permanent injuries. So the way permanent injuries previously worked is you had to fail a skill check by, I want to say 6, otherwise you get a permanent injury. Now, I was reviewing Time of War, and the Time of War actually has a permanent injury hitting you on a margin of success failure of -3. So if you fail the skill check by 3, then you get the permanent injury. So injuries are going to become permanent a lot more often. The next one is going to be to, we're also going to be adding in a campaign option to, what's the word? Give me brain. A campaign option to make injury healing times harder. That's what we're going to do. So we just check this. That's fine. So be aware that you are going to get permanent injuries a lot more often. There's also an issue that you can potentially die from a failed healing check. You would literally already have to have 5 hits and then fail a check, but it is possible, and that's also rules as written with Time of War. So I'm just going in and double checking where we go. Process healing effect. Okay. If patient, get severity is greater than death, let me just double check that. There we go, death. It's actually equals or greater than death. We are then going to kill them. Recent change, status, campaign. Today. And we are changing to the now I might add a campaign option so that we have an option to make more difficult healing, because I know a bunch of people are not going to be chuffed with the idea that permanent injuries are more common. I'm not wholly sure because it is rules as written, but we'll see. I'm thinking about it. There we go. I can import it. Thank you. And we're adding the report. Good. That's fine. Radar says, could always add a option to adjust it / use the old way. Yeah, I'm just not sure whether we can because of how everything is set up. Because it's not really possible to change this kind of internal, and that is the only reason why I haven't. But it is rules as written, and the damage model we're using is based on a Time of War, and it is as written in a Time of War. Because keep in mind, if you've got a 4+ on a healing check, you would literally have to roll a 1 or less on 2d6. So it is still pretty hard. The only time you're going to see this more often is if you have absolutely terrible doctors or a lot of penalties. So it's worth remembering that if you have a prosthetic or an implant in a location and we're healing that location gets a -4 penalty on the healing skill check. That's rules as written. Or if all the doctors have children at the same time, yeah, like it basically, so long as you aren't self-healing and you're not haven't got a shit ton of penalties, you should be okay. You should be okay. basically, so long as you have a 4+ in your surgery any skill, you're not really going to see these penalties very often. But obviously, better, less likely to happen. Whereas previously, you needed to get -6, which meant you had to have penalties for you to even have the possibility of a permanent injury, which wasn't intended, honestly. The real danger, though, is if you get if you fail by 6 or more, the character will get hit with a medical complication injury, which can kill them. It's that is rules as written. Again, it's very unlikely. You have to have a lot of things happen at the same time, but it is possible. What do we do here? Added logging. Radar says a 1, which is physically impossible to roll 2d6. That is true, but while physically impossible, their penalties can take it below 2. The entire population of Mars says doctors can reroll with that with edge, right? Exactly, doctors can. They say that although doctors that have edge are probably good enough to not need it, potentially, yeah. But no, you can re-roll it with edge. That has been implemented. And the implementation with edge, because right now the only way to get a medical complication is also to get a permanent injury. So if you get a permanent injury, that then triggers the edge re-roll. So I keep saying so a lot, but it means that you have ways to avoid this, but it's going to be expensive because getting edge on non-combat personnel is expensive. It's 100 XP. It's worth it, though. It is definitely worth it, though. So, oops, I keep punching my mic today. Ugh. The last thing we want to do is we want to add ourselves a campaign option. And we are bringing back a change that was made due to player feedback. If I can get there. There we go. So when we did Alt Advanced Medical originally, we very quickly got player feedback that they didn't like how long it took to heal people. And so in MekHQ right now, all healing times are halved. If you have the easy mode on, they're halved again, so they're quartered. But I am going to bring back the harder healing times. Ooh, Radar saying they got buffalo wings. Very tasty. And this will not be enabled by default. This is for people who really want to lean into the difficulty of personnel getting injured. Radar says they air fry them. Oh man, that sounds so bougie. We don't have an air fryer yet. That's something we're needing to grab. That sounds so good. Yeah, we're actually still moving. We're still in the process of moving because we had to get out of the old place so quickly that a lot of our stuff is left behind, and so my wife is heading back to is heading back to our old place in Tennessee this weekend to pick up the rest of our stuff, which I am so grateful that she's doing that. Psychedelic says air fryers aren't that good. They're just basically ovens. Eh. It's cracking my back. Do 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 do. Let's go with one better. No, 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 we're doing this wrong. Let's go one better. Rather than... give me a second. We are going to change this from an integer, sorry, from Boolean to a double. There we go. We'll add a healing time multiplier. Then players can just set it to whatever the hell they want. Public double get Shazam. Public void Shazam double. Pretty big param name there. This pajar equals pajar. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so this is now going to cause some breakage, but that's okay, because that's kind of what we're wanting. The reason why we're wanting that is it makes it very, very easy to figure out where everything is no longer working. Because sometimes the best thing you can do is to have something fail loudly. And it's got a new. I generally don't know why I didn't do it this way originally, but hey ho, such is life. Hindsight is 50-50 and all of that good jazz. Don't need the metadata there. Actually, let's go for label. Oh, that's right, we don't need that there. I'm confusing myself. This version number needs to be up here. And here we just care about so default is that, the minimum is going to be that, and the one, there we go. Minimum, maximum. Oh, I need to put a 0 there. Is that not right? Step size, I forgot step size. Interesting. Oh, there it is. There we are. Now, the last thing we need to do here is we need to add the text, which is easy enough. And this is simple. We're just going to multiply all healing times by this amount. Obviously it requires that, but we're also going to add in a recommendation. There we go. Now, there are going to be some failures. We should have some errors that we need to resolve. So how about we attempt to launch MekHQ, and then it's going to tell us exactly where the problems are. The youngsters, old Illiani has her secrets. Yes. Oftentimes it just comes down to regarding the kinder healing time, that was only added in based on player feedback. So all I was trying to do there was meet the player feedback as quickly as possible. So I didn't really think about further changes that players might want to make. Whereas I feel like this current system is just a lot better. It's a lot more reasonable. Okay, there we are. That gives us a tell. Okay, so this now needs to be a double. It needs to be healing time multiplier. There we go. We do need to put a minimum. So recovery time equals min of recovery time and 1. Because if we don't add a minimum, things might not work quite right. Just healing time for campaign options. Should we get original time, new recovery time? We need to match the earlier. So this actually should be round recovery time times healing. It's going to be original recovery time. And then we need to do new recovery time. We need to do a max of 1. Now, we will be going back and double checking these in a bit, but for now we're just making sure that everything is functioning correctly. Oh, looks like we have a deprecated method here as well. So what are we going to replace this with? So we need campaign. We have access to campaign options? We do. Turns out we have everything we need. Nice. Oh, maybe not. There we go. That gives us all the things we need. Okay, so that has resolved there. Let's go and check injury utility. This is a really long call, so we're going to switch in this instead. Okay, so that gives us our multiplier, but that's being renamed wrong. So we need to go in and change that. Let's change that. We don't want to Boolean as relevant healing time multiplier. I'm just gonna, this just basically means we only need to evaluate this once rather than every time. So this should be round, and it should be multiplied by the healing time multiplier. That is not quite what I meant to click on. And as with the other places, new recovery time equals a max of new recovery time and 1. There we go. So that now should have it so that injuries received apply their multiplier. Look, so we've got one more error that we need to do. There we go. So let's see if we can run this. And then we'll check to make sure if any tests need updating, because there probably are going to be some. Oh wow, that's loud. I have a new water bottle, but apparently it makes noise when I'm drinking for it. Don't know if that was picked up on the mic at all. Radar says the garrison contract has slowed down to "we are at peacetime. Use it to upgrade the aerospace unit." No, they're using it to upgrade the aerospace unit sitting in storage. Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe the Scrotorious Bastards should get a cushy garrison contract at some point. Get that cash dollar. Speaking of, if you're not already aware, later on today we have our ongoing MekHQ campaign, The Adventures of the Scrotorious Bastards. We're playing a Rasselhaig house unit, and we're currently 4 years away from... Oh no, that's not good. So we've hit quite an error. So let's go ahead and see what the error has. What time is that set for? If you check the schedule in either our Discord or the schedule placed on Twitch, it will tell you, and it would be automatically adjusted for your time zone. Minimum is less than maximum. Okay, so we need to go back to here. Minimum. Ah, there we go. That's the issue. Yeah, it's let's see here. If I go to the Illiani Discord, ooh, I'm so fancy I have my own Discord. It will start in 5 hours-ish. And we do that every Friday. Okay, waiting for MekHQ to finish booting. And we're then going to injure some people and see if the times are longer. So it doesn't really matter what preset we pick. We'll pick the perfection one. Let's go down to medical. Oh, this should probably be on this side, but it's fine down there because it'll get we'll adjust it over. No. Let's adjust it over now. We'll do that in a second. Yeah, that works out nicely. Okay, we're going to change this to its maximum value, which is 10. And that should give us absolutely obscene healing times. And if it does, we know we're working fine. So let's go and find ourselves a victim. Let's go for a civilian. Let's pick someone random. A duelist. Let's give the duelist some injuries. Oh, I beg your pardon. Thank you, CM Peterson. I'm terrible for remembering to switch over. We are, however, in the void, so bear with me a second. Let me fix that. There we go. Okay, so we picked ourselves up a duelist. Let's go ahead and give them some injuries. And now these injuries, but if everything's working, should be quite hearty. There we go. Left ankle fracture, 190 days. Perfect. Okay, let's give them some more. Note that this is with 10 times healing, so 200 days. There we go. Okay. We'll go ahead and remove all their injuries, and then we're going to go and take it down. We're going to change the campaign options a little bit further. Ooh, wrong place. So let's go and take it to 2. See what 2 feels like. Compound fracture, 74 days. Abdominal burn, 20 days. Yeah, this checks out. Okay, so 2 seems to be a good sweet spot for quote-unquote realistic, which actually makes sense. That does mean we need to change our stuff a little bit, but not too much. One thing we need to do is we need to change the medical header to have 4 lines instead of 3. Oh, by the way, we're back in IntelliJ, so let me switch over. There we go. Yeah, some very minor stuff needs tweaking. This should be 1, not 0.5. And then the personal tab, we should have default of 1. There. Okay, so there is one more thing that we should do, and that concerns the company generator. So the company generator checks whether we have Alt Advanced Medical enabled. Let's see if we can find the company generator. There we go. So we want to say if Boolean is use Alt Advanced Medical, and then double Boolean There we go. So what this is going to mean is if we are using Alt Advanced Medical and we have a healing time multiplier of greater than or equal to or greater than 2.0, then we're going to give you a bunch of spare personnel. Otherwise, we're not, because you don't really need it otherwise. Okay, so there's one more thing we want to do, and that is... what do we need to do? Let's review whether we can... let's have a look. See how difficult is it going to be? Oh, okay, not that difficult at all. Boolean use kinda healing. So if we're using kinda healing, we're actually just going to delay healing here instead of a permanent injury. And then if we're using kinda healing down there, we're just going to have a permanent injury instead of permanent injury of medical complications. No, we won't bother with that. We'll just have the kind of healing. Reduces the chance of getting a permanent injury. Okay, so let's head over to campaign options, and we're now going to have a new option. Is use alternate advanced medical, kinda. That's not quite right. It should be use. There we go. And this is going to basically have the chance of getting a permanent injury significantly reduced. And then I can have my changes without having to worry about people complaining. Because sometimes I add changes for me. Not very often, but sometimes. And this is an example of an option that I'm adding because I want to use it. Give me a second. I'm worried I might have accidentally forgot to add a marshaller for this. Oh no, I didn't. I just put it in the wrong place. Campaign options. There we are. Okay, so now I need to go to the Personnel tab. Oh lord, that wasn't quite what I wanted to do. PS359 says doing some dev before the scrolls take the field. So on Friday, every Friday, it's always the dev stream in the morning, and then in the evening we do the Scrotorious Bastards. Fridays are double stream day because we don't stream over the weekend. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean I stop working over the weekend. It just means I'm not streaming. Same with Wednesday. I don't stream on Wednesdays. I am still working though. Unfortunately. Interesting. Yeah, that should be it should be in the right place. Whatever. I have copied across the wrong thing. PSP Finance says, yeah, I think you called off at one point due to the move. It looks like you're back to regular schedule. Yeah, I'm absolutely back to regular schedule now. The only time we called stuff off was during the move, because that was a hell of a time. But we've never cancelled a Scrotorious Bastards yet. And I have. It will take a lot for me to cancel a Scrotorious Bastards episode, because those are some of the highlights of my week. What's the best mech they field at the moment? The Scrotorious Bastard? Oh, I can absolutely tell you that without any kind of pause. It is the awesome that we finally put together last episode. Yeah, we finally got our awesome onto the field. Well, we haven't actually had it onto the field, but we finished repairing it that we got from our first contract. Oh, and Radar finally got their Hatchman 3F and weren't swindled. That's good to have. Okay. So now we can come back to here, and we just need to update this so that we are checking in. Do I have access to campaign options here? No. Okay, that's fine then. Set a Boolean. Boolean is use kinda healing. I just like to use these booleans rather than passing them directly into the method parameter, just because it just makes for neater code. Okay, let's see if all our tests now run. Oh, actually, no, we need to do one little thing that I forgot. We need to add in our text. PS359 says, according to the original Tro, the only defense against an awesome is another awesome. Well, we proved that wrong. We took that awesome down fair and square. It's also the personal BattleMech of Ian Marek, likely the odious Marek scion ever. Oh, interesting. I just know the awesome is just, it just lives up to its name. No questions asked. The awesome is just straight up awesome. And I don't think anybody disagrees there. Okay, let's run our tests and see if anything breaks. Radar says the awesome is good so long as it's the awesome that focuses on the PPCs. Yeah, when they try to diversify the awesome, it kind of just becomes less awesome. While we're waiting for these tests to run, if you're enjoying the stream and haven't already, please consider hitting the follow button so you can get notified when we go live. Don't forget, we do have our own Discord. You can find the links down in the link place where links live. And as I mentioned, in about 5 hours, we will be going live with the Scrotorious Bastards, our own ongoing MekHQ campaign, where we count down the final 4 years before the clan invasion, and we are playing the Free Rasselhague Republic. Fox Tower says, and I agree with this Fox Tower statement, it's the only thing better than the base awesome is the 4 PPC one with double heat sinks. It is 33% awesomer. LRM awesomes are sad, Radar says. Yeah, I agree. At that point, I agree with Radar. Just buy a archer or longboat. PS359 says in the Dark Age era, there's also an awesome with 3 heavy PPCs and a clan double heat sinks. Whew. Whew, that's some juicy loadout right there. That is some head cap potential. Radar asks if they're capped. Lord, I hope they don't have PPC capacitors. That would be obscene. That would be truly obscene. I mean, 3 heavy PPCs with clan double heat sinks is already juicy, but if they had a PPC capacitor as well, who knew? That would be painful. Oh, and if you feel juicy, there's also the subscribe button. All proceeds from subscriptions and bits and all that good stuff are going directly towards buying me a new computer so that I can continue to make exciting, wonderful streams, but also develop hopefully without IntelliJ constantly crashing. Radar says if they had capacitors, they'd be basically getting hit by a Hunchback 2C at long range. Yeah, except the Hunchback 2C only has 2 ultra autocannons. The awesome that is being discussed has 3 of them. PS359 says, if you want PPC caps, there's another awesome that has 8 light PPCs, 4 with caps. Huh. Huh. I mean, light PPCs, aren't they basically just large lasers at that point? I mean, 8's still a lot, but... I like my PPCs with a punch. More like medium lasers? Yeah, kind of. Like, if I want 8 medium lasers, I'll just get a laser back. Okay, so all our tests passed successfully. Goody, goody, good. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and push this. So we're going to head over to Safari. Apparently Safari's in the void. Let us take you out of the void. Bear with me just one moment. It seems to be when I reset my computer, that's when everything gets forgotten. There we go. Let's head over to MekHQ. Okay, looks like we can't automatically merge. That means there's some conflicts. So let's go ahead and resolve those really quickly. I'm not surprised because there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in MekHQ right now. Fox Arrow says it's basically heat neutral if you're standing still. Yeah, and if you're in an awesome, if you're sitting in an awesome and you've got 3 heavy PPCs, at that point you don't really need to be moving. You just find some heavy woods, sit in them, step 3 profit. You've got the range and you've got the damage to just sit there in some heavy woods, and you don't need the TMM. So this is the conflict resolution screen that we're now in IntelliJ. Anybody who was here yesterday is very familiar with this screen. The good news is that this is not anywhere nearly as bad as what we were dealing with yesterday. We might have some minor issues, but yeah, nothing that we really need to worry about. Okay, I'm expecting there to be... Was it body? Ah. It was. Okay, this is something that we need to adjust. Okay, that's something we will need to have a look at in a second. Make sure we're bringing that up to snuff, because we don't have it set to body, which is something we do need to do. Process healing effects. We're looking for margin of success for healing. Okay, so we need to do a Boolean here. Boolean is unassisted healing. And Boolean has surgery skill. So if has surgery skill or is not unassisted healing. Where's my miss penalty? I haven't added it yet. Okay, so if it's else if is unassisted healing. That's what we need to do. That's not duplicate what you're talking about. So if we have the surgery skill or we're not unassisted healing, we're going to use skill check. Otherwise, we're going to use unassisted healing, which is going to be a really rough time. Do we want to do it that way or no? We'll just say if it is unassisted healing, we're going to use the attribute skill check. Else, we're going to do the skill. There we go. And we actually want this to be a attribute result. So we want the action attribute result. We also want a string resource bundle key. So if we are doing assisted healing, there we go, we want that. Otherwise, we want natural healing. And the action check result will be string report text So what we're doing here is we're fixing an oversight when I merged natural healing and he said unnatural healing and assisted healing. Excuse me. Okay, that all checks out. And we also need to pass in whether it's unassisted or not. Boolean is unassisted healing. Perfection. Now the last thing we want to do for an unassisted healing is, do we need to add a penalty? Let's not add a penalty. I think using a body check is penalty enough and all the other stuffs. Okay, let's run our tests, because I suspect that we're going to need to update the tests. I'm really hoping, yeah, that's what I was worried about. Okay, that's because, oh, that's just because that is get margin of success value. Okay, that's easy enough. Int string, int string. That needs to be use edge, string reason. Okay, so this is so far these are failing for very basic reasons. So I'm not as worried as I was. That's still going to need to redo though. See what happens. And again, this is one of those very rare cases where I'm adding something because I want it in, as opposed to something that's just objectively better for the game. It's kind of using my developer privilege. I get to add the stuff that I want, and it's also worth noting that this is not going to be on by default. Like, I personally think the game is better when you're forced into a situation when you're needing to cycle out pilots. Like, I personally think that makes for a better, more tense experience where you can't just rely on your A team all the time. However, I have found from experience that players don't agree with that. Players want to have, frequently, a heroic campaign where their pilots get hit, but nothing really sticks. Where every character in their campaign is Phelan Kell or just an Alard. I personally don't enjoy that kind of campaign. I prefer to keep things really gritty and down to earth, where nobody is immortal, everybody's at risk. But I can't force those preferences on other people. Radar says, in fact, they've actually started setting up reserve mechs now, and Youngster says that kind of campaign can sound fun, but it gets boring and everybody has plot armor. That's kind of my thing. Here, give me the errors. I'm gonna run test all because I want to get more details on what's failing. Because I know we're having tests fail, and that's okay. I just want to get a better idea of what's going on. It's an action check, not attribute check. Action check. Radar says the only time I ever put the Hand of God into my game was when I really, really didn't want to sit there and wait for parts to just come in because their Vectrum MekTech did something stupid. Let's just have a look to see if we've got any dirty edits that we need to resolve. I don't expect we are, but let's just double check. A dirty edit is a modding term, and it specifically means an edit that you didn't intend to change, or somewhere where you're editing something but you're not actually making any functional changes. And you always want to avoid them because they just create unnecessary. So here we are. We're just adding in. Oh, we changed that from. Okay, so that isn't a dirty edit. That's actually correct. I can almost guarantee we're having dirty edits here because we're not changing anything of substance in here. So these we can undo. I am noticing that nowadays in IntelliJ, we're seeing dirty edits occur a lot more frequently. I'm a little bit concerned about it, honestly. I think my adverseness towards immortal characters and just generally wanting to make people feel the struggle comes down to my viewing of MekHQ as a story generator. Because if you read a story where every character survived everything that hurt them, and they were never in any peril, at that point, what is the story? Where is the story? If your pilots are just constantly succeeding, where is the narrative going? People, or rather, I don't find it a particularly interesting narrative if I'm winning constantly. I didn't mean to do that. If I'm winning constantly, because the story's boring. Like if the protagonists are never challenged, there is no narrative. Billy Bob was the best Mech warrior ever, and they never got hurt, they never failed. Everything worked out for them, and also they were the bestest ever and best friends of Kyle Alad Lau, and they were second in the line to the Livern throne. Like, that's the kind of narrative you end up with, and I just don't really enjoy it. Hey Hammer, glad you could join us. Let's see here. Okay, so what actually happened? No such method exists. Alright then. Method. Okay, so what we're saying here is that the method doesn't exist, which is something we're going to need to find. Because I assure you, the method exists, but what we've done is we've changed the signature. So now we need to come in and make sure we're updating our tests. So we have person, campaign, modifiers, miss penalty, use edge, and we have one more. That's what we need to add in. Okay, let's rerun this test and see if it works. And I think this really does just come back down to what I'm constantly saying during our Friday night sessions. And I know I probably come off a bit preachy sometimes, but it's just because I have strong opinions on the matter. So you should always make the decision that tells the best story. Because MekHQ it's there to help you tell stories. It's a story generator at its core. And so if your head mech-tick pours their big gulp in the cockpit of your awesome for the 356th time, does leaving that problem stick? Like letting it, not reversing it. Does not reversing it tell the best story? Maybe it's telling a story of a MekTech who is frustrated with a command and is constantly undermining it through nefarious means. Or maybe it's just a little bit frustrating and you're getting fed up with it and you want to just change it. At which point, there's no problem in it. Whatever you feel tells the best story is the right thing to do. Person class, check. Campaign class, check. Modifiers list, check. Miss penalty, check. Boolean edge, check. Unassisted healing, check. So why then is it telling me that it has... Where are we defining this? This is a case for the AI. We'll just get the AI to have a look at it because it's going to be something really stupid and daft, and I do not have the patience for dealing with this right now. I really do not like working with tests. Like, they are so important. But I really don't want to have to deal with it. So let's just go ahead and ask the AI to take a look at it for us. Hammer says, sometimes the best stories come from losses. Also, just because there is a battle offer doesn't mean it's a battle to be taken. History is full of battles where one side didn't engage. Reynard says, tells the best story. Like yesterday, the Manticore that got knocked out was marked total loss because the enemy controlled the field. I was like, I could take the loss, but I'm going to use the knowledge of vehicle recovery options and say that 2 Manticores unhooked spare tow cables, hooked up the hole and towed it off the battlefield. It cost me time and money to repair it because I needed the whole new turret. Yeah, like, this is it. This is precisely it. Oh my god, I am so fucking stupid. So I was right, it was something dumb. We had set up the class interface correctly, but we hadn't filled it with any values, and that's why it wasn't working. I would have spent fucking hours on that. Hammer says it's also why they cringe a bit when people say MekHQ is a game. MekHQ is MekHQ can be played as a game, but it's not a particularly good one, in my opinion. And I don't like saying this because it feels very pompous, but I am effectively the lead developer of MekHQ, and I will tell you that I do not view MekHQ as a game. I don't think MekHQ is a good game, and I think that treating it as a game like you would HBS BattleTech is a mistake. Instead, you really want to treat it as like a story generator. You use it to tell the narrative of your campaign. And if you lean into that, if you make the choices that give you the most narratively spicy option, you'll find that your enjoyment of MekHQ goes up substantially. Okay, so Doctor is null. How do we process that? And that gives us our modifier for unassisted healing. Then we perform our healing check. We're performing our healing check, at which point this doesn't seem right. This isn't right. I don't think. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So if the doctor's a null, we're going to have a target, we're going to have untested, and that's going to pull down to here, at which point you attempt healing. Vidarian says MekHQ is an open world. The game is a story you make in it. That is very much my opinion of the matter. So if the doctor's null, we're going to input the patient as the doctor. That's correct. So at which point doctor is now the patient. And we go to get our margin of success. Action tech result. It's unassisted healing. So we're going to then do an attribute check. Okay, so that's why we need to have the attribute check defined on the doctor. There we go. That's going to be the body attribute. And then we shouldn't need campaign anymore. Okay, now let's try this test one more time and see if we can fix it. Radar says they like to think of MekHQ as your story in the BattleTech universe. You tell it through the equipment, you set up your contracts and take, and MegaMek is the game. MekHQ is a storyteller, yes. And I'd like to think I've shown in the Scotorious Bastard ongoing campaign that we play later on today, that the story doesn't need to stop being told the moment you hit the ground in MegaMek. You can use your actions in MegaMek to tell a story as well. And yeah, there is a design, like, and this I also think is a sign of a player who's been playing MegaMek for a while, because when you first start playing MekHQ, you just want to win, and that's perfectly acceptable and perfectly reasonable. However, after a while, you start more towards this needs to be attribute check. You start more towards telling stories, because you've had your time in the spot, like you've won enough, now you need to make it interesting. And just focusing on winning is completely fine, especially when you're first starting to play. Like, I feel that you'd get more enjoyment if you use MekHQ to tell a story, but that doesn't mean that playing to win is inherently wrong. The only wrong way to play MekHQ is the way in which you're not having fun. But I will absolutely stand on the soapbox of narrative play and preach to the converted about the joys of MekHQ as an emergent storytelling device. I will stand on that soapbox all day. Yay, our tests are passing. Now, there were some other tests failing, so we need to investigate that as well. Now, it's possible those other tests failed because of a malformed thing, which I've already fixed, but we're going to test it anyway. And while that's running, we're just going to go and check what we've got set up. Let's see here. Because I thought we made some edits. Yes, we did. No, that's a different thing. There we go. This is what I'm looking for. Wait for that to finish processing. That is the Java docs fix that I needed to get fixed. And now we're just waiting for our tests to run and hoping that they all passed. If they all passed, then we're done. We can get this pushed and we can move on to the next thing for today. This took a little bit longer than I wanted. That's okay. That's how things work out sometimes. Feisman, welcome to the chat. Feisman, glad you could join us. Says the only wrong way to play a game is not having fun goes for any single player game. Yes. I would argue that the only wrong way to play a game, full stop, is the method in which you are not having fun. Because games are inherently something that we do out of enjoyment. If you're no longer enjoying something, like that is meant to be an entertainment form for you, then you do need to reassess whether the way you're playing it is conducive to you having a good time. I'll use an example from my own life, really. I used to have a terrible problem for optimizing the fun out of anything I played. Okay, so we got... Okay, looks like we have some failing tests, but I don't know if these tests are failing because of change that we've made or a change that exists already. Yeah, I think these might be failing tests. I'm going to have a quick look at the MekHQ queue to see if this is perhaps something that's already been fixed. But yeah, so I really enjoyed Pokemon Go when it first came out. And I went out of my way to get like the best Pokemon, and in doing so, just lost interest in the game. Okay, I'm going to merge in a couple of changes and see if that will fix the problems that we're having. So I'm actually in Safari right now, but seeing as I'm literally just clicking some confirmations, I'm not going to... I'm not going to bother switching over to Safari. Hammer says game doesn't equal job. Yes, most assuredly. Okay, so we're going to merge in some changes, and then we are going to see if these tests are still failing. If these tests are still failing, we're going to go ahead and switch over to main and see if they're failing on main, because it might be that you just need to be taken a look at. They might have been malformed, which is very, very easy to do. Okay, so we are going to get some problems here that we will need to address. So we're bringing over our changes, even though we know that these aren't going to be working, because we've made the changes that should apply. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to go ahead and fix the problems. And you can see that popping up now. It's only a couple. It's only 3. And all I need to do is just change it from margin of success to get margin of success. Okay. Let's just check, make sure our tests are still running. It looks like we've got some errors. Bugger. Roll, margin of success, use edge. Action check roll is what we need. Okay, that's going to be a result of, 8. And then we'll do list of 6 and 2. There we go. That's going to give us the 8 that we want. We're probably going to need to replicate this in a couple of different places. Yeah, there we go. This is, unfortunately, one of the downsides of having so many people working on the same thing at any given time, is you just end up with a lot of cross-contamination, where one person's working on one thing, which then conflicts with somebody else. And it's not a huge issue. It's just right now we're doing so many fundamental shifts that it is a bit of a pain in the ass. There we go. Okay, let's run this and see what happens. Hammer says, I've never seen so much big code going into MekHQ. Well, since Tar first started coding it. Yeah, this is a really, really good time to be a MekHQ MekHQ, or MegaMek in general fan, because even MegaMek's getting a lot of code moved right now. You know, I really think we've kind of reached a critical mass. There is problems. Like right now, our current style of pushing releases without any way to patch, it is really, really aging. Our inability to put out patches is genuinely hindering development at this point. Because it means that, like, for example, yesterday we discovered there's a bug with how veterancy awards done, and it was literally 15 minutes fix. Like, I pushed that, got the bug in, and I found the problem, and I fixed it in like 15 minutes. But we've now got to wait until the next release for that fix comes out, and that next release is going to have a whole bunch of its own bugs. And our inability to push patches is really, I mean, Hammer says it's killer, but yeah, it's really hit a problem point now where it is actively hindering the quality of the product that we can put out. Because it was fine. I won't say it's fine, but it was manageable when each release only had a handful of new things, nothing particularly exciting, nothing particularly, well, don't want to say nothing particularly exciting, nothing particularly major. But now where we have multiple significant changes each release, it is a real problem. Howard says it was okay when we had a very small player base. Yes, nowadays it is not okay. And I do think we need to look into ways in which we can move away from trunk development. I don't know what the solution is, but we definitely need to find one. We can't continue like this. I am distracted. It looks like everything ran okay. So let me do. Let's just fix failing patch. Fix failing tests. Vreda says they hope the team gets a patch at some point. Yeah, no, I really do as well. Hammer says as much as we complain internally, we have to move towards what Hammer wants. What Tex wants regarding a single repo, a patchable system. I agree. No, I've been on board with that for, well, I've always been on board that one. We definitely need to have a way to launch out hotfixes, a way to send out patches to players. Our current system is just, it's no longer usable. Radar says going for single repo will probably be a big help creating patcher. It would be. It would be, because we then don't have to worry about MegaMek being on patch A, MekHQ being on patch B, MegaMek Lab being on patch C. We just say, hey, user, here's a patch. Would you like to update? And they'll go, yes. And you click the button and it updates and everybody has a good time. And then every few months, you have a big release, and the big release contains all the major new features, and the major new features have major new bugs. But then we then release a couple of patches throughout the dev cycle to particularly target those issues and the small fixes. Breda says because with a patcher, the all fives bug and veterancy bug would even be a thing. No, those were both fixed within like an hour of the bug being reported. And I don't know what the solution is. Vidarian says in an auto update with the various interfaces. Yes, please. Yeah, no, this is we genuinely want it. It's just a huge task to undo what is effectively 25 years of trunk development. And if anybody isn't aware of what trunk development is, it's where you have a single source of truth and you just push changes to that, and then every few months you launch the trunk, and it's, yeah. Feisman says something like the dedicated installer that BattleTech Advanced Universe uses? Potentially. Because the problem is, like, the way MegaMek works, it is a single Java system. So MekHQ, the entirety of MekHQ is ostensibly in a single file, which means that anytime we change anything, you have to update that entire file. You can't just say, oh, I just need to change this one line. You have to re-download the entire file, which means we then need to find a way to get that single file to you. Regarding a dedicated installer, specifically an installer isn't happening, but some kind of patcher or something like that needs to come along. And as I say, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what we need to do to make this happen. But we as a development team, we really need to be seriously investigating the option, because we can't keep having these silly little mistakes undermining all the effort we've got. Because I can guarantee you, MekHQ has a reputation for being buggy. I guarantee it. and a lot of that comes down to not necessarily it being badly made, but because of the limitations we have on how we can actually push fixes out. So interesting session. Freya says, I don't have enough knowledge to even begin offering options for Java patches yet. I don't even know what we'd need to do for that. Vidarian says, would you be looking to split some of the base functions into their own jars so you could update them separately? I don't think we can. I don't think we can with Java. Okay, so the tests are failing. Let me head over to here and where's my engineer general discussion? I'm just asking Hawk to take a look at the failing tests. Fox Darrow says they know of another fan game that includes a single batch file which pulls down a Git repo as their updater. All users need to do is to run the bat. Yeah, I don't know. How do dependencies work in Java then? Fucked if I know. From my knowledge, because the thing is, when you are launching a Java app, you are launching the Java app. The Java app is contained within like a single exe file. It's not an exe file, but we'll just use that for the sake of argument. You can have external files that the Java file can update, but the jar file itself has to contain all the code. But I think if we focus down on just having a way to update the jar and data, that will take us 95% of the way there. But I am so far out of my experience level with that sort of thing. Okay, so we know the failing tests are actually an existing problem and they're not us. Which is nice. We like it when that's the case. Vidarian says, but when you're including things like third parties like JForge logging, does it search through your jar path to find the name? I'm not wholly sure. So this is an operations question. I am just a humble developer. So I'm not exactly sure of the inner workings of everything. What am I doing? We're pushing. Okay, let's go to Safari. There we go. Okay, reload this. Vidarian, are you back? If so, let us know. Thank you so much for the subscription, Vidarian. I'm sure that subscription is just because you want to support the channel and has nothing to do with the ads that Twitch forces upon you. jokes aside, I really appreciate it, but the timing just really tickled me. Thank you. To answer your question, though, I was waiting for you to come back. It is a operations question. You would need to reach out to Tex on the MegaMek Discord. Have a chat with them, see what they can suggest. Because genuinely, we are open to suggestions. And if you've got experience working with Java and you think you can handle this, like, reach out to us, because it is a problem we need to resolve and we need people working on it. Unfortunately, I never want people to think that I am some super amazing Java developer. You have to remember, everything I learned about programming, I learned working on MekHQ. And what that means is, unless it is inside my wheelhouse, it is like related to the MegaMek program, directly code-wise, I'm liable not to know the answer, because I am sure I might be the lead developer of MekHQ, but that is purely by merit of me having got my grubby little fingers into every corner of MekHQ. It is definitely not a representative of my overall experience as a developer. Vidarian says they're not a Java dev. They're a sysadmin that has some hateful relationship with Java. I think even we have hateful relationships with Java. But yeah, so I do want to see this problem solved, because it needs to be solved. We can't keep going on like this. Okay, this PR adds a couple of changes I have wanted to make for a little while. Change 1. The chance of a permanent injury has been increased to match 8-0. There is now a chance of a injury healing attempt, also resulting in a medical complications injury as per 8-0. Let's do page reference, page 193, 6th print on. I know that because I've written that so many times. Unlike 8-0, this is not flavored as blood loss, but as a more generic and universally applicable medical complication. What else we done? There is a campaign option to, we can put it back here. There is a campaign option to revert this change. There we go. That'll stop people from adding me. As this is an injury, it can kill the recipient, albeit only if they already have 5 hits worth of injuries, so shouldn't come up very often. Is a new campaign option to increase adjust healing times. So players can make their campaigns as gritty or heroic as they see fit. Recommended values are 2.0 realistic, 1.0 current as of 51.0, and half the old kinda mode. Kinda mode has been removed. And we've added some new tests because it had none. Screen personnel, campaign options, and tests. And there we go. Now this is going to fail because of the ongoing issue of tests. So we'll get that fixed in a second. Okay, so that's that done. Let us next take a look in. Oh, why is that failing? Oh, it looks like we've got check style grumping at us. Let us take another look and see what the issue is. I think I'm going to have pizza for dinner tonight. Okay, let's run check style and see if it's going to tell us why it was failing. Oh, because we're stupid. Exclude origin awards, no negative abilities. Where are we? Veterancy awards, that should definitely be a false. Alternate weighting true, ignore eligibility true, exclude origin awards false, and no negative abilities false. Okay, cool. That should fix the failing tests. And missing booleans. Yeah, with any kind of programming, I'm just reading chat, and any kind of programming, it always seems somewhat archaic until you just get used to what's going on. It is just the matter of it. Okay. Let's see. That should get that passing. And let's take a look. And that's medical. We know that's failing, and it's failing specifically because of the Java doc generation's failing. Okay. That shouldn't be failing. Why is JavaDoc failing? And while we investigate why JavaDoc is failing, I've realized I'm on screen. Please, if you're enjoying the stream, hit the follow button. If you're feeling particularly spicy, you can always subscribe, but don't feel like you have to. It does get you rid of the ads. Unfortunately, I am now fully an affiliate, so I believe that means you guys will start getting ads. I previously hadn't finished setting up affiliate, it turned out. So have a look, where's our documentation? Let's see, why is JavaDoc failing? Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Reference not found. Okay, that'll be why. Get effective healing attempts. There we are. So let's run JavaDoc generation one more time to see if we've got any other issues. Oh, looks like Hawk, who is amazing, by the way, has already pushed some fixes. We'll need to wait to merge those, but that should fix it, little things. The issue we have is if we ever have even one failing test, even for a simple reason, it'll stop the nightly build from building, which can be a bit of a pain in the butt. Okay, JavaDoc is now good, so let's push this. Fixed failing JavaDoc. Now I still expect this to fail, but that's okay. We're just waiting on some tests over in Safari. Once those tests finish, we can then merge them in. And by the way, folks, if you're not already, consider hitting the links button. You'll find down there's a link to our personal streaming Discord thing. And it just keeps you up to date on all the wonderful things that are happening. PS3 Fine says, of course it's going to fail with that attitude. Diddly dum. Waiting on the tests to finish. How long have they been running for? 4 minutes? Okay, they probably have what, 5 minutes left. With that in mind, I'm going to step away from the computer very briefly. I shall be back in just a jiffy. And I am back. Let's switch this over, Shazam, and head back to Safari because we're just waiting for the final test to finish running. What time is it? It is 3:30, which means we have like an hour and a half left, which means we probably won't get to do the second task that I wanted to do today. That's okay. I will at least be able to talk about what it is, and we can have a discuss. Excuse me. The Friday stream's always a bit of a struggle bus because we still have obviously the dev stream, which is the usual 4 hours long, but then we have the Scritorious Bastards in the evening. So I'm always nervous about overrunning. On other days, it's not as critical. If we overrun, it's a pain in the bum, but it's not hugely an issue. Whereas on Friday, if we overrun, that actively makes life very difficult for me because I still need to prepare dinner for my family and things like that. Okay, so we are already on that. Let's quickly update our repo, which I won't switch over to because it's literally just me going to tabs and clicking So without further ado, and And nothing there, and nothing there. Okay, perfect. So let us update main and then merge it in, and that should fix the bugs. There we go. Push that, and there we are. Now there was one other one that we needed to do this for, and that is malformed SPAs. Though that hasn't failed, so I'm not too worried about that. Psychedelic says they made a bad financial decision. Oh, did you get something cool? I am the worst person to come to with your bad financial decisions, because I'm just like, oh, what did you get? Was it awesome? Does it spark joy? Was it just the world's biggest burger? Because I know that sparked joy in me. Oh, a Doctor Who magic deck. So, okay. I am happy for you if you are happy for you. But let's talk about Doctor Who. Let's have a chat about Doctor Who. So I am English, British, whatever you want to call it. I am well acquainted with Doctor Who. I grew up with Doctor Who. And I straight up do not understand the modern obsession with Doctor Who. I straight up do not understand it. Because when I was a kid, Doctor Who was just this silly little kids show with a really low budget, and it was kind of quirky, it was kind of fun, but it was just a kids show. And then they rebooted it, and suddenly the world became obsessed with this silly little kids show that I grew up with. And I have never, ever understood why people are just so upset. Not upset, because I'm obsessed with modern Doctor Who. And I've watched it. I've watched it. I have, watched a good chunk of it, and I'm just like, hey, this is fine. Psychedelic says Doctor Who has never been a kids show. Oh, I assure you it has. Speaking as the English person in the chat right here, I promise you, Doctor Who, prior to the recent reboot thing, was 100% a kids show. It was a kids show for kids, and that's why. As someone who grew up with Doctor Who being a kids show for kids, I am just perplexed with modern Doctor Who, the modern Doctor Who fan scene. And this is not to say that people should not like Doctor Who. I am definitely not yucking people's yum. If you like Doctor Who, if you're like, oh my god, Doctor Who is my favorite show that ever existed, I'm just like, yeah, thumbs up, good for you. I'm glad you have a cool thing that makes you happy. But I do not understand it. I probably understand the modern Doctor Who fan scene about as much as someone who grew up with My Little Pony understands the current My Little Pony scene. Doctor Who is a family show, not a kid show. Again, I do have to disagree, because when people say family show today has a very different connotation to what family show meant when I was a kid. So a family show today is a show that the whole family can enjoy. It has stuff for the adults, it has stuff for the kids. Whereas a family show when I was growing up in the UK, keeping in mind I'm nearly 40, so this is a while ago. But when I was growing up in the UK, a family show just meant that a show that you could stick on to keep the kids entertained in the evening that wasn't complete and utter mind pulp. And that's what family show used to mean. Nowadays, a family show, as I say, is a show that the whole family can enjoy, and it has stuff for everybody. Doctor Who was very, very much a kids show for kids, and that was how it was viewed when I was growing up in the UK. It was viewed as a kids show, and I get that isn't how. Meaning it was more like Seinfeld than Adventure Time. I really disagree. I have to I respect your opinion, and like I recognize that Doctor Who today is not viewed in the same light as Doctor Who was when I was growing up as a kid, when I was like 10. But all I can tell you is how Doctor Who was viewed when I was growing up. And yeah, like adults could enjoy it, but its target audience wasn't adults, or at least how it was perceived. It was perceived. That's a better way of saying it. It was perceived as being a kids show for kids. Doctor Who today definitely isn't a kids show. Yes, I agree, and I am not in any way, shape, or form disputing that. And that is kind of the point I'm making. Is that as someone who grew up with Doctor Who being a kid show for kids, that's what makes the modern Doctor Who so perplexing. Because Doctor Who today is now it's something that's aimed at mature teenagers and adults. It's like the young adult fiction. That's actually a very good point. Doctor Who today is young adult fiction. In that it is written to be entertaining for adults if you enjoy young adult fiction, but it is very much young adult fiction. Whereas how Doctor Who used to be, that just wasn't how it was viewed. It's like it says the BBC drama department made Doctor Who, not the children's department. Be that as it may, all I can tell you is how growing up in England it was perceived. And I do want to emphasize that it is my experiences as an English person growing up in England, the place where Doctor Who is from. And I am talking about a very, very different Doctor Who to what is being consumed today. Doctor Who back when I was a kid was incredibly different. Incredibly different. It had the budget of a pack of chips and a walnut. It was very, very popular in the UK, but it was not the high budget worldwide phenomenon it is nowadays. And that is all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is making it really weird for me as someone who grew up with super low budget, the sets are made out of cardboard, Doctor Who, that, as Wildfire put it, your parents would send you off to watch and stay out their hair. That was my experience of growing up with Doctor Who today. Similar to how, and I touched on this, but similar to how someone who watched the original My Little Pony would have a very, very different experience to anybody who watches the modern My Little Pony. And this is actually such a really interesting thing about how this I don't want to say this current because it's been going on for a while, but how right now we have a recycling media, so that old media is recycled and made current, and that creates a multi-generational multi-generational experience for people who watch the show, because someone who watches the show during its first airing is going to have a very different experience as someone who's watching the show in its second iteration. And I guess just with Doctor Who specifically, I've never been able to reconcile the modern Doctor Who experience with the Doctor Who experience I had growing up in England as a kid. And I keep repeating myself because I do want to make sure that this gets across. I am not saying that anybody who enjoys modern Doctor Who is wrong for enjoying it. I am not saying that if Doctor Who is your favorite show, if you really enjoy Doctor Who, if you're a big fan of the modern Doctor Who, that is fantastic. Like, I am not saying that is a bad thing. I am saying that for me personally, through my personal experiences of Doctor Who growing up as a kid, and I freaking loved the show as a kid, has just made the modern Doctor Who very, very weird to me. But that's just an English person's opinion. PSV59 says that I think really there were a lot of shows back then that were really crap by modern standards, especially outside the US. I couldn't really speak to that. I don't know if original recipe Doctor Who was necessarily crap. It was just incredibly low budget. Like, Pathsider's talking about the little shop vac Daleks. Like, yeah, the Daleks literally were made out... The little Dalek plunger was literally a plunger. The little stick that's to the left of the plunger was made out of the... if you're using corking, it was basically a bit from a corking gun. Like, original Doctor Who was incredibly low budget and just kind of weird. But that's what's made it fun, because as a kid, you didn't care about it being low budget. I remember any of the adults who watched it would be like, oh, this looks crap. Look, it's just made out of whatever. But as a kid, I thought Doctor Who was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed Doctor Who. And actually, I guess that might actually partially explain it, because when I was growing up, I really, really enjoyed Doctor Who. But maybe the reason why I didn't enjoy modern Doctor Who is because it didn't give me the same experience I had as a kid. Doctor Who today is still quirky, it's still weird, but it's no longer the quintessentially British, low-budget BBC television of the 90s when I was growing up. And I'm aware Doctor Who was before the 90s, but the 90s was when I was growing up. I believe Tom Baker was my Doctor. And I think that's probably the reason why I couldn't gel with the new stuff. It was completely different experience. And of course, I as a person had grown as a person. I am definitely not the person I was when I was 10, obviously. And I think that maybe that's the reason why. Reason why I've never really been able to understand the current Doctor Who, because it isn't my Doctor Who. PSV59 says, I think the reboot started in 2008. Yeah, probably. Gribbly says, modern Who is more like a telenovela or a soap. Maybe. But yeah, I think that is the heart of it. The reason why I struggle to enjoy modern Doctor Who is because it's not my Doctor Who. It's not the Doctor Who I knew growing up. It's a very, very different animal. And that's not necessarily bad. I say this many, many times because I really want everybody to understand that when I'm saying that I don't enjoy something, I'm not saying the thing is bad. I'm just saying that I don't enjoy it. And that's okay. Not everything has to be for everybody, and not everything is for me. That is a very important thing to accept as you grow up and grow in the world. So that not everything is going to be for you, and sometimes a thing that you enjoyed stops being a thing for you. I really don't like modern Star Trek. I really, really do not like modern Star Trek. I adore Star Trek of the 90s, and I really enjoy original series, but I struggle to enjoy modern Trek. And that makes me sad, but at the same time, some, franchises change. Just because I have like a strong affinity for a franchise doesn't make the new stuff bad. It just means it's not for me anymore. Radar says TNG is my favorite. I am a DS9 fan. I love the Next Generation. I love the Next Generation. I love Voyager. I love original series. I love them all. But I really, really, really like DS9. Cisco is by far my favorite captain. Well, we just wasted a whole bunch of time. Gribbly says sometimes things do just become bad. That's true. But sometimes things just stop being aimed at you. And that's also true. I love the older Final Fantasies. I'm a really, really big fan of older Final Fantasies. But I haven't fell in love with a Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy X. The exception being Final Fantasy 11 and Final Fantasy 14. But those are MMOs, they're very much a different thing. But yeah, Final Fantasy X has been the last single player Final Fantasy that I've enjoyed. And those games, 16, and 15 were both incredibly successful. They're incredibly good games. They're just not for me. And that's okay. The franchise is still very strong, still very, very popular, still very producing good games. Final Fantasy 12, I think it was a bit of a misstep. It might have been 13, I forget which. No, Final Fantasy 13 was a misstep. That one wasn't very good. But yeah, the franchise of Final Fantasy has just changed. It's just not for me anymore. And yeah, and this is more of a speaking to me being a streamer thing. So you might often see me being very, very, I don't want to say defensive, but I don't want to say defensive, because defensive's not quite the thing. It's more, you might see me sometimes like defending and trying to reassure people that I don't mean X when I say Y. And that's part of the streamer experience, in that I don't want someone to hear my words and get the wrong message. The last thing I would want is for me to say, oh, I don't like a thing, and then somebody to hear me say that and then think they shouldn't like the thing, or think that they're bad for liking a thing that I don't like, or that I am saying their thing is bad. Because the world is made richer through a variety of experiences, a variety of points of view. When we place ourselves in an echo chamber, our existence becomes very bland and predictable. And certainly there are some views that I don't want to listen to. Anybody who's transphobic, I'm obviously, being a trans woman, I don't have a lot of time for that. But when it comes to what media we enjoy, what shows we love, books, video games, having people in your life that like different books or different video games makes your life richer, because it means when you discuss these things with those person, you're not just hearing your own opinions voiced back to you, you're hearing somebody else's, and together you can enrich both your lives. That's how I feel, at least. But we are here for development, and what am I doing? Not developing. It's Friday. You guys have been in my streams long enough to know that on Friday I'm pretty lackadaisical, because I don't want to overrun. At the same time, I've reached a point where I just don't care. I don't want to develop anymore. I just want to play Scritorious Bastards. But here's the thing. What are we talking about now? Gripply says that bad taste is still a thing. Just because a small number of people like something doesn't have anything to do with it being better than crap. I largely disagree. So there are some things that I'm like, nah, that's crap. It has no redeeming features. And that is very much my opinion. Like, there are very few things in the world that are objectively crap and completely unenjoyable. Because even for something that I'm like, no, I cannot see any merit to that. I cannot understand how anybody could like this thing. The last of the recent Star Wars trilogy is a good example. I cannot see how anybody could enjoy that. But it still has fans. It still has people who really, really enjoy that. And does that mean it's crap? I certainly think so. But if people are enjoying it, it cannot be objectively crap. It just means that I personally cannot see the value in it. Radar says Superman 64 is a good example of it's just bad. True. And yet there are people out there that speedrun it. There are people out there that take one of the worst games in video game history and make enjoyment out of it. If a game can give someone enjoyment, even if ironically, is it crap? Is it objectively trash? Radar says that there are people who speedrun Superman 64. I am reasonably confident. Let's find out together, because I don't want to just say things that are wrong, but I just could have swore I saw some. So Superman 64 speedrun. Yeah, no, it is. Let's go over to Safari. Here is the any percent leaderboards for Superman 64. It's not a particularly big speedrunning scene, but it exists. And here is a game that is, by all accounts, crap. Everybody says it's crap. But here we have a number of people who are speedrunning it, who are finding fun in the crap. King Miles says, we should already talk about bird kickers' taste in children's cartoons. There aren't even any birds to be kicked in that show. Well, maybe we should give Bird Kicker the hatred of aliens. Maybe Bird Kicker is convinced that there are creatures called Teate out there, and Bird Kicker just hates the concept of birds. He thinks they're the enemy. Here's the other thing I wanted to do today. That we're not going to get time to do it properly, but we might as well have a little bit of chat and discuss what I was intending to do. So what I would like to do is offer an alternative leveling experience for players. Now, there's a couple of ways I'm planning to go about this, but the one that's most pertinent is the idea that right now you can take a character and you can go, okay, I want this character to have this SPA, this SPA, this SPA, and that SPA. And the character really has no say in that. And then it really is a checklist. You go, okay, well, this is a mech warrior, and I want that SPA, that SPA, that SPA, and that SPA. Like, it just becomes a checklist. How do you get the best possible pilot spending the least amount of XP is generally the equation. So what I'm doing is, what I'm thinking about is, so we have a system where leveling via SPAs is just a checklist, ultimately. What if we optionally, I have to emphasize this is optional. I know this system is not going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for me, so I want it in the game. So what if, instead of directly buying SPAs, you paid a small, relatively speaking, XP cost, so say 50 XP, and your 50 XP gets you a random SPA. So you no longer get a say in what SPA you get, but it will be an SPA the character is eligible for. So you're not going to get natural aptitude gunnery on your admin. But you could get natural aptitude gunnery on a mech warrior for 50 XP. And in this way, your character kind of organically would grow. You might get a weapon specialization in AC-20s and suddenly be like, oh, maybe I should start putting this character in a mech with an AC-20. And this is going to produce objectively weaker characters than if you were just buying the SPA directly. But I think this could have some merit. I think this could be a fun way to add some randomization into character progression that doesn't currently exist. Something else I was also thinking of doing is, because right now I strongly believe that attribute score increases at 100 XP are too damn high. They cost far too much. So I'm kind of wondering if we also add the ability to spend a small amount of XP, relatively speaking, I don't know, say like 50 XP again, or maybe 40. And paying that increases a random attribute score, like body, whatever, by 1. And again, this is a way to allow the character to develop organically, but in a way that you're like, okay, well, I don't want to spend 100 XP because that's expensive. But if I spend 50 XP, I could just, that way I can get some random increases on attributes where I would previously have not bothered increasing attributes at all. I don't know how I feel about that one, because largely speaking, if you take a character, especially focus characters like we have right now, getting attribute scores and outside of the 1 or 2 attributes that actually matter to the class would just be bad. So I'm kind of thinking that's probably not good. But we probably do want to decrease the cost of attribute score improvements. King Miles says it would be bad. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, when I talk about these things, this is kind of like getting a glimpse into my thought process. And sometimes you have to chew things over and say them aloud and go, no, that just wouldn't work. But I see people talking about the Skyrim leveling. And this is something that is coming. So right now in MekHQ, you have task-based XP. So this is a campaign option. And basically what task-based XP says is every time you do a task, you get some XP. And it uses the example of logistics roles or repair tasks. And there's a couple of problems with that. The first problem is that the task XP code is barely implemented. Like 99% of all tasks do not have that hooked up. Which means unless you have one of the handful of profession types that actually benefit from task-based XP, nobody benefits. Nobody, unless you're a tech, a doctor, an admin, or a combat personnel, you're basically just not. You're not really benefiting there. And you might say, oh, well, that covers everybody. It does, but individual roles are far better covered than others. So, for example, if anybody's paid attention, you'll know that logistics personnel they swim in XP because your logistics personnel are making so many acquisition checks every week. So the other problem, before I move on to what I'm planning to do, the other problem is that the XP is global XP. We'll call it global XP. So what that means is if I take my admin personnel who's in logistics and they're getting, I don't know, we'll say for argument's sake, 100 XP gained from procurement checks. So they've got 100 XP they've gained from procurement checks, and I'm like, okay, I want to level these up. There is absolutely nothing stopping me taking that 100 XP and turning them into a mech warrior. Or if I have someone who is dual professioned, logistics personnel and mech warrior, that logistics role is going to feed the mech warrior role. Just feed it XP after XP after XP. So I really don't like that. And that's why back in 2024, 2025, I was thinking about just removing task-based XP entirely. But players didn't really enjoy that. And I understand why. They didn't enjoy it because they didn't feel like progression was tied to them actually doing stuff, which makes sense. So what I'm planning to move to is partial skill progression. And that system is already implemented, but how it works is I can give you XP. I can give you XP towards a skill. And say you need 20 XP to level that skill. I can give you 5, and now that skill only costs 15 to level. Or if you wait until you get 15 more XP, partial XP, you can just have it level automatically. And that is the solution. So how it's going to work is as you make skill checks, and we're specifically tying it to skill checks. As you make skill checks, you will gain XP towards that skill. So use administration 5 times, maybe you get 5 XP. 5 XP would probably be a bit too much, but just for the sake of conversation, to get 5 XP. Do that 20 times and you get the second level. Your admin goes up. So that is what we're meaning when we refer to Skyrim leveling, or I generally call it Elder Scrolls leveling. It is the idea that as you use a skill, you will naturally become better in that skill. And this I do need to emphasize because it did cause some confusion and some worry when I was discussing this on the Discord. But the intention is that this is not going to replace the current leveling system. It will completely replace task-based XP. That it is. It is definitely going to replace that. But it is not going to replace vocational XP. So you're going to get your Elder Scrolls leveling XP to level up skills. That's going to be pre-spent. And then you're going to have your global XP you can spend on whatever the hell you want. So that this is going to allow you to still improve your skills. It's improve skills that you want to improve, not just the ones that are getting used, but also by your SPAs, your attribute bonus and stuff like that. That's the goal, at least. And we are incredibly close to implementing it, actually. It's probably going to be implemented within the next couple of weeks. Now, the greatest challenge that we're going to face as developers is going to be balancing it. It's going to be an absolute clusterfuck for about 2 releases. As we gather feedback and as we see which skills are outpacing others. Because if we're finding that administration skills level like they're got a rocket strapped to the back, then we probably need to reduce the amount of XP administration gets per use. Whereas if we find that your roleplay skills that barely get used, they never level up. You're like, okay, well, maybe we need to up how much XP per use you get for that. The other thing that we're going to be doing, and I need to tie this. So this is purely a oh, hi Poshingar. Glad you could join us. So this is purely a floating an idea. I don't know if I'm going to do this yet, but I used to play a lot of Chaosium games like Call of Cthulhu, and I forget what their generic D100 fantasy system was called, but I used to play a lot of that. And one of the interesting things that they had there is as you play a session, you have little boxes next to your skills. And what you do is at the end of the session, or rather while you're playing, anytime you fail a skill check, you tick the box. Note, fail, not succeed. And then at the end of the session, you get XP based on the number of skills checks that you failed, and eventually they'll level up. And I'm wondering if we do something here along those lines. So when you have an Ultra Green, you're constantly failing skill checks, you're leveling up faster, but as you start getting towards Elite and you're rarely failing skill checks, it means there's rarely new things for you to learn. And so you're going to start slowing down. So I'm wondering if that's going to be a workable solution. So say, again, you have Ultra Green in administration, and you're constantly failing, so you're constantly getting XP. But then, as I say, once you start getting higher up and you're failing less often, there's less new things for you to learn, so less new things for you to adopt into your skill set, and that is what we're representing with the partial XP. What do people think of that? I'm interested to hear. And again, this is an addition to vocational XP that you can spend on whatever the hell you want, including skills. But yeah, this is what I've been referring to by shorthand as Elder Scrolls leveling, because it's kind of like the Elder Scrolls approach to improving skills, that you improve it as you use it. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. And the good thing here is that the actual architecture is all in place, it's all set up. There's another contributor called Hawk who has been doing amazing things, and they've been going through and hooking up all skill checks to use the skill tech utility I added last year. And once that's done, this system will take about a day to set up. Now, balancing it, that's going to be a while. But actually just implementing it will take maybe about a day. Roxara says that actually sounds good. Yeah, no, I think it sounds really interesting. I'd be really interested to see what it does. Now, the issue is that combat skills, because we can't really track every shot in... oh, excuse me. Okay, I'm turning that alarm off because I constantly... It's an alarm from when I was living in the old place, and 4 o'clock, which is the time it is now, was the time I needed to start cooking for dinner for the family so that it'd be ready for when my wife went to work. Because my wife used to work nights. Now she doesn't. It's great. I get to actually see her. But I keep forgetting to turn that alarm off. So it's off now. Hooray! But, yeah, I just think it's going to be a really interesting concept, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, balancing-wise, as I say, like, I'm repeating myself now, but it's going to be a bit of a clusterfuck balancing. But I think it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it myself. Combat skills, that's what I was talking about. Combat skills are going to be a little bit hard because we can't track each individual shot fired in a MegaMek scenario. I mean, we can, I just don't want to. So how combat skills will probably work is you get a set amount of progression at the end of each scenario, or maybe we do, at the end of each scenario, we do a single piloting skill check and a single gunnery check, and use that to determine whether any XP progression is gained, and it's just more XP than you would normally. So if most normal skills only get you 1 XP, maybe scenario skills give you a block of 10 XP. Pure example, that would probably be broken, but that's the kind of the way we're probably going to resolve it, because that's going to be pretty easy to implement without additional code, and just make things a lot, because I still want players to feel like they're progressing. That was what we were going to work on today, but we've only got an hour left. I'm just not sure if we're going to have time to do that. So let's head over to Safari. Let's head over to the queue and see if there's anything we can do. See if there's any bugs we can fix. Add images and recon cameras to the list of items to provide pro bonuses for StratCon. Oh, Lord. That's gonna be a pain in the ass. We'll do it later. King Mars says, I like the inherent slowing down of progression. I'm less infused about the implication that you only learn from failure. So, while true, we just have... Yeah, it's just, like I say, this is just something I'm floating the idea of. I'm not entirely certain about it myself. And again, this will be in addition to your vocational XP. Okay. Oh, that's actually fixed now. I keep hearing my microphone. I do apologize. But let's head over to here. I forgot to include a note of it in the PR. Fix. There we go. My favorite bug is a bug that I've already fixed. Let's get rid of these. Don't need all these other tabs. Do we want to fix Dr. Baby? So anybody unaware, Dr. Baby is a bug where when you generate a character, they can generate a doctorate even though they're a child. This is a user feedback, but I need a campaign. So you've made using report a bug button. Top right of MekHQ. Okay, that's out of the way. This is actually a known bug, at least. Known bug fixed in the next. Cool. Again, my favorite kind of bug is a bug that I've already fixed. Oh, okay. So my dogs are actually asking to go outside. So what I'm thinking of, I don't know, how do you folks feel? How do you folks feel about us ending stream a little early today? We're kind of done with what we wanted to do. So, like, what do we think? I think I might end the stream early, keeping in mind that in 3 hours we will be coming back for our evening stream. And I might just end the stream early, spend a bit of time with my family, and come back refreshed, ready for this evening. Because with only an hour left, we don't really have a lot of time. And if my dogs are wanting to go outside, that's going to take maybe like 15 minutes, which then takes us down to like 45 minutes, 40 minutes. So let's end the stream a little bit early. I do apologize, everybody. But if you did enjoy yourself today, feel free to give the channel a follow. If you're feeling particularly spicy, there's always a subscribe button, but never feel like you have to. Like, that's something you should do if you can and if you want to. If you want, there is the Discord, which you'll find in the links place where links live. And also, if you're on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can notify when we go live. We will... Viceman says, tell the wife we appreciate the time she allows us to have you for. Yeah, tonight was nice to be fun. I'm looking forward to tonight. King Miles says there might also be a related feature to Dr. Baby. They haven't actually looked into the statistics, but it feels like medical doctors are oddly likely to generate with only high school education or less. Actually, they're less likely to. I specifically have a bit of code in there to prevent that. Doesn't mean it isn't happening, but I suspect that might be confirmation bias. Because doctors with early education and high school education are more likely to stick in your mind. If someone wants to open an issue report, I can definitely take a look at it though. But yeah, so I think I'm going to take my leave of you a little bit earlier than normal today, folks. But yeah, as I say, if you want to join us in about just under 3 hours, we'll be back for our ongoing MekHQ campaign where you can actually see the game that we've been developing. But until then, I shall wish you adieu. Make sure to spend some time with your family. If you don't like your family, don't worry, because you can make one in MekHQ. But until then, farewell and goodbye.